That is our special guest tonight, Kris Karr. And that was a 2-minute montage. I'm not sure what happened there. It looked like the video froze up a couple of times. We're having a couple of issues with a couple of our streams. Sean's is weak tonight, so I'm not sure what's going on there. But hopefully, you're freezing up on the other end there, so I'm not sure what's happening. We're going to see if that corrects itself. If not, then we'll be in trouble. You might hear me a little bit more out of one channel than another tonight because I'm broadcasting in stereo and I want to make sure that you can hear all the little tasty tidbits. Oh, Sean, your computer's just taken a crash. You're frozen and it's not even working. All right, hopefully you can connect again. We'll see what happens there. Chris is live in the studio, though. We'll just tune in on him. Hey, Chris, how's it going, man?
Hey, it's going well.
Your audio's a little low there.
That's a little better. Okay.
Oh, much better. You have to mute that when you're playing on the drums, otherwise it's going to kill us, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we got Chris joining us from Fort Dodge, Iowa. God, everything's a little spotty and grainy tonight. Your internet connection just went for a toot, same as Sean's.
Oh, really? No, here I'm good. I can hear you just fine.
The network connection is weak, but it's okay. Sean's was like poor. It tanked out on me. So hopefully this works a little bit better. Your camera's better and your internet's back up again. So something was going weird there with your connection. All right.
I'm going to go over and shut my Facebook feed down on that computer. So.
All right. Maybe that's causing it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you never know.
You never can tell. So you're joining us from Fort Dodge, Iowa tonight, and we got you behind the kit because aside from all the other stuff that you do in the world of music, you're a drummer.
I'm a drummer first, so.
So that was your first instrument, was the drums.
Yeah, I started kind of experimenting with drums. I would sneak back into the drum section in band. I managed. Can I tell this story?
Yeah, you tell whatever stories you want tonight, buddy.
Okay, so at 3 years old, my mom and dad took me to this party. I think it was a wedding reception. There was a band playing, and I think it was just a trio, but I saw the drum set and I was just totally mesmerized, and I just stayed right there by the guy's hi-hat and just watched everything go down, And the next moment I was locked in a phone booth screaming bloody murder at 3, But then, that just never left me. It just overrode every thought that I had. I was completely obsessed with the idea of drums, and I could not get my parents' cooperation. So when I was 12, I was getting ready to enter junior high school, and I found out that my dad had played cornet in band in school.
Okay.
And I went, if I play cornet, I can get close to drums. So he let me take his cornet and I started learning to play it. And it was an awful instrument. The thing was in really bad shape. So it was really hard to play, but I stuck it out. And then slowly but surely, I started sneaking back to the drum set because I had also discovered an old friend. We had moved out of a neighborhood, and he was my first best friend, this guy, Don. And he played drums, and I was like, man, you got to teach me how to do this. Well, I don't know how to teach you anything, But I just kept sneaking back there, and then it really started to irritate the teacher, and this was over a period of months. And I met this other kid, Eddie. He was kind of the ruffian, and he played guitar too. So I was like, oh, that's cool. He plays guitar. I could play drums, and he has a drum set at his house, and I don't even have a drum set,
Wow.
And so I tell these guys I got to do this, and I'm back there, and it's driving the teacher nuts. So next day I go in, I'm sitting in the horn section, and I'm really frustrated because I can't get this guy's attention. I can't get my parents to let me do this. And he's all ticked off at the band, at the horn section in particular, because we're not being loud enough in a section. So he says to the horn section, "Forte, forte." And he's like that. So I stood up with my horn and I forte'd him right at head level.
Oh,
And
man.
it pissed him off. And so he he turned red in the face and he goes, "Mr. Karr, come over here," and he locked me in the timpani closet for the remainder of class.
Did you actually learn the instrument?
Back there, I was learning it on my own. I was just trying to imitate what I heard. I didn't really know what I was doing.
Right.
So anyway, he calls my parents and they come to school, and they're like, "Mr. and Mrs. Karr, your son could be like #1 trumpet player if he wanted to be, but he's not interested. And so if it's okay with you, I'm going to move him to the drums, And I'm, up to that point, I am just scared to death and I'm going to get a major ass beating when I get home,
Right, right.
And,
Every parent's nightmare, their child being introduced to the drums.
Yeah. And so he's like, "Yeah, if you don't care, we're going to shove him over on the drums." And I'm like, "Yes," and, they weren't real happy about it, but they finally relented. So I started doing that. And then like a couple weeks later, I'm in band and I'm just learning. And this woman, Alice Lindsay, the orchestra teacher, a beautiful woman, comes into the room and needs a drummer for the orchestra. They're going to play Hawaii Five-0, theme to MASH, and I got the music in me. And we need a drummer. And nobody holds their hand up in the drum section, and I just go, "Pick me, I want to get the hell out of here. I want to do some rock and roll, I want to do this." So that's how that got started.
And how old were you? How old were you there?
I was 12.
Wow.
12, and finally, my parents got me lessons, and I took a snare drum home, and I just pounded the shit out of that thing for.
So was ever being like in the music industry ever on your mind? Was that a desire?
I think it was, but I was a kid and I couldn't think of that in a professional way. That was like a fantasy.
Right.
Yeah, that was like the only people that got to do that were the people that got to be on TV.
Sure.
I lived in the middle of Iowa.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, so I part of my research, I always checks things out, and I look at what's going on with people, and Sean said it's not letting him in.
Oh, shoot.
Oh, all right. So I'm not sure what's going on with that because I can invite as many guests as I want. Refresh.
Is my feed still holding?
It looks like it. So I'm just gonna try a refresh link for him and see if that works.
Okay.
Anywho, when I read your bio, it says on here, "I hadn't planned on playing a guitar or becoming an entertainer." There's a whole lot right in that one phrase itself.
Yeah, I didn't plan on that. I didn't, like every other kid, I figured I'd have to go to work. My dad was a mechanic and worked on cars. And I figured that's probably what I'd end up doing. Down the road, I was kind of interested in art. And I thought about being an architect to build homes because I like to draw,
Right.
But it, drums just really, once I got to play them, that took everything over. I took my first fill-in job at 14.
Right.
And
I like how you designed your website too. I don't want to cut you off there because I want to talk a little bit about that.
No, that's
but
okay.
how you designed your website, and of course that statement. I hadn't planned on playing guitar or becoming an entertainer, and that is in your section on your website called "The Dirt."
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the next line says, "In fact, had anyone told me that I would become either of those things, I would have laughed at them."
Oh yeah. Because
So,
I can talk to you now and I can talk to people on stage, but back when I was a kid, I was super shy. And I had an eye problem. I had a lazy eye is what it was called then. And so my eyes, I was like Marty Feldman, my eyes split and went two different directions. But thankfully, my parents got me surgery. I had major surgery on my eyes. I yanked them out, cut the muscles
right.
off, shoved them back in, and then I at least looked okay, you know.
Wow.
But I still had sight problems. It made it very difficult to read. So reading
How
music,
how old were you when they did that surgery?
I was 12.
That would be that like that's a while back when that technology was really in its infancy.
1973.
Yeah, like they like eye surgeries were considered like a major surgery back then.
It was. It was. I was out for 6 hours. I was under
So
the
did
knife.
they shorten the eye muscles? Is that what they did?
I think so. Yeah. To help align them to keep
That
them.
is amazing, amazing work. Because that is no easy feat to do that kind of work. It's delicate,
Yeah. And it was very painful. So when I woke up,
no doubt.
it was like somebody had thrown glass and sand and acid in my eyes all at the same time.
Oh
It was
man,
awful. But my eyes were like totally covered in blood,
right,
which so I was a little kid. I was constantly getting beat up. And so we're at the lunch table one day, and this I have to wear sunglasses because everything's just too bright.
right.
And this bully sitting across from me is like, "Come on, Carr, take off your glasses. You're not cool, man." So I pulled my glasses down, and there's my eyes are completely covered in blood. He was like, put them back on, Carr. Put them back on."
He's probably afraid of you. He probably thought you were Satan's spawn by that point
Well,
in
I,
time.
I think by that time I felt like that.
Yeah.
But I started
Oh
playing
man.
started playing drums right about that time, and that just really gave me a lot of focus. And then it really helped develop friendships, long-term friendships. Um, so it was a win-win for me. Otherwise, I mean, I might have been had I not done that, I might be a mechanic somewhere, or I might be flipping hamburgers somewhere, or some other job, and not doing what I wanted to do.
Right. Yeah, it's funny, how life moves us in different directions, and for a guy that really never intended on becoming a full-time musician, or a full-time artist, you do that pretty much now.
Yeah. In I graduated in 79, and in 1980, the economy tanked here. In the town that I was living in, which was Cedar Rapids, and nobody had work, including my father. So
Right.
we lost everything we owned. Um, I basically, for a short time, ended up homeless. So I found a job on the road, playing drums in a country band. And I had a 10-piece double kick kit, and I never played this stuff before. And I drive out to the middle of Nebraska and meet this guy and his band, and we're playing Waylon and Willie and
That's cool. That's cool
old
because
timey country.
a friend of mine that plays bass guitar, same thing. Like, he ended up in playing country for many years,
Mhm.
and I don't think he particularly liked playing country, but man, he said it paid the bills.
It did. I went from being a dishwasher, because that was the only job I could find, in
Right.
Cedar Rapids. The bankers still had their jobs,
Yep.
and they would have to go and find a place to eat. So I worked at this restaurant, and so I was making I think 3.25 an hour, and
Wow.
I went from that to making $500 a week just banging drums.
So
You know,
it wasn't hard to figure out which one you wanted to do.
oh God, no, and not at all, not at all.
So by the time it came time to figure that hey, maybe this is the road I'm going down. You actually also had a music store for a while too.
I did. I had a music store for about 13 years, and when COVID hit, I just saw the writing on the wall. The Everything was going to be moving totally online. I mean, it was inevitable anyway, but that just fast tracked it. So um, nobody was going to be playing. There wasn't going to be really any income coming in. I had my wife and we'd paid the store off. I hadn't made a big order yet, which I normally do about that time.
Yeah.
And because the NAMM show would have been coming out, well, then they
Sure.
announced something was going on. And then they finally announced it in March. And I came home and I told my wife, I said, we're going to shut the store down, and we're going to shut it down for 6 months. We're going to see what happens here. But if I think that this isn't going to get better, we're done. And
Were you renting space for your store, Chris?
no, I own the building. So
Oh, so you're fortunate that way. You were like you weren't having to pay a lot of monthly out of pocket, but you're still paying your taxes.
yeah, I pay the property taxes and you got to pay the utilities. But,
Yeah.
the store, as old as it was built in 1905.
Oh
It's
wow.
really well insulated. And I just turned the heat down. We disconnected the phone and just kept the lights off.
Right. And your music store that was in Fort Dodge, Iowa,
Yep. Mhm.
right downtown.
No, we had our store in a neighborhood. Um,
Okay.
it was an old store that was built to support the trolley line that went through town back in 1905.
Okay.
So it was a fuel and water stop.
Right. And so now along your way, you said like somewhere around high school or something like that, you ended up working at a filling station.
Yeah, my dad's gas station. Yep.
Okay. And did the, and your dad had his own business for a while?
Oh yeah, for a long time. From the time that I was, I think, from the time I was 2 or 3 until 1980.
So 1980, what happened in 1980 that changed things for your family?
It was the recession. We had a huge recession suddenly hit. Um, I don't know what it was like for folks in the rest of the country. I just know what it was like for us in Cedar Rapids. Um, it shut down all the major factories. So all these people that had been at their jobs and had tenure for, had been there like 20 years, suddenly didn't have a job.
Wow, that's just crazy. So the recession hurt everybody so bad that businesses just started
They dropped.
pulling pulling up the carpets and
Pretty
letting everybody
much.
go. Wow.
People lost their houses. We lost our house. I mean, we lost everything. I got out with my pickup truck and my drum set.
1980 saw the rise of house mortgages go up to 18%.
Yeah.
My parents were affected by that to the point where they sold their house to get out from underneath the mortgage
Mm-hmm.
and made enough off the sale of the house, fortunately, because the people coming in were able to port an existing mortgage over.
Yeah.
And so with them being able to port an existing mortgage over at a lower rate, they locked in at a lower rate. My mom and dad bought their new place without a mortgage. So they could tell the banks to go,
They played it. They were able to play it smart. My parents
They,
weren't so lucky. Everybody, this is back when your wife is still just the homemaker, pretty much.
yeah, my dad, like my grandfather was from Europe, right? So my dad was like, had the old European look at of, your best investment is always your own real estate.
It is, yeah. I agree
So
with that.
he worked an extra job for many years and paid extra money down on our mortgage.
Yeah.
Because my grandfather always said to him, renting from another man is like beating on a dead horse.
I instill that into my children as well. I'm a stickler about that. When my wife and I got married, we were dirt poor. We had to actually take out a loan to get married, um, and paid that off. And we had to rent for a little bit. But I told her, I said, we can't have any kids until we have a house. You know,
Right.
because
Yeah. Our family's been very similar. We've lived through feast and we've lived through famine.
yeah,
And I for all the years we've been on this earth together, I'm the sole breadwinner for our family.
yeah. And in
So
our case, I'm not, but both my wife and I are self-employed. And when you're self-employed, you don't have those. You have your independence, and there are some very good things about being self-employed. But then there's also other things that are not so great. Like you don't have the opportunities of the health insurance packages that
yep, there's a lot of stuff missing that way.
you pay way more in taxes. But you do have your freedom, and if things go wrong, you only have yourself to blame. You don't have a boss to sit there and go, well, you're a jerk, you know.
Damn boss, you're a jerk.
Yeah.
It's all your fault.
So so anyway, I've pretty much been self-employed most of my life. I've taken jobs when I had to. You go through a period of where you question whether you should
Right.
keep doing this. And I went through that many times, and took a day job. I've been a number of different things. I've been an auto mechanic. I've been an aluminum TIG welder. I've been a delivery driver. Um,
He's done a
you
little bit of
know,
everything.
yeah, yeah. So, but always seemed to fall back to playing. And finally, when we shut the store down, I just told my wife, I said, if it's okay with you, I'm just going to go back to playing. And so I
Sure.
just started booking solo shows. I mean, I already had a band, and I was already doing solo work, but I really hit it hard. And at the end of 2020 and 2021, I really hit it hard, much
Wow.
harder. So
Yeah, I mean the pandemic was hard on everybody, and there without getting into it, it really did turn into a big shit show.
it did
Yeah.
worldwide. It did.
Yeah,
Every
and it was handled really really poorly. But as you mentioned, it's also something that changed a lot of things in the world forever. For example, the fact that you said you saw sort of the death of the music store and more of the online services taking on that.
right. I had a discussion the other day, um, and it was, well, you still work on guitars, right?
Right.
And I said, no. Well, why wouldn't you do that? Because having a music store is where you buy your instruments, and that's where you have your guitar serviced. And I
For
just
sure.
went, if I can't do what a music store is supposed to do, which I couldn't, um, I just went, that's enough of that. So, and now I'm a musician, and I have to focus on that.
For sure.
I'm an entertainer. That's the other thing too, is that what's really changed for me is, although I am still a musician, I'm a musician when it comes to being in this room, maybe recording or practicing cover songs that I'm going to go out and play, in my solo show. Um, but when I'm on stage, that's where I have to leave the musician back here in this room. And
Right.
because I front a band, and I have to become the entertainer, or when I'm doing my solo acoustic show, I have to become the entertainer. I have to remember to make sure that I smile
Right.
and talk to the
So
people.
So we got you sitting behind that kit tonight. I mean, there's not much point in having you behind that kit if we're not going to like you make you work a little bit. So I want you to think about the drum intro to A Girl Like You.
Okay, so you want me to play that?
Yeah, I would like you to play that intro from the tune "A Girl Like You." That's one of your songs you sent me.
Okay, you have to keep in mind that I recorded that song probably back in 1989. So
Well, you just put whatever intro you want to that song. Just think of how that song starts, and just that drum fill at the beginning, which is like, I don't know, what is it? Is it 15 seconds?
if that.
It's pretty quick.
Okay.
That is really cool.
Right.
That is cool. Sean, what'd you think of that, buddy? You're a drummer.
Awesome. Very syncopated. And I do apologize. Nova Scotia, we're beautiful. Come visit, but we've got two tin cans and string apparently for internet. What the heck's going on?
You got sucky internet.
We're right there with you, buddy. Right there with you.
What are you using for a snare there, Chris?
This is made by Kamen or Come On. I'm not sure how it's pronounced.
Drummer Top.
So, Come On, built what they're known for mostly is they built helicopter rotor blades.
Oh, nice.
But they also built the back bowl for Ovation guitars. So this is this is what's known as a Legend custom snare, and they made a whole series of drums, and they're just beautiful.
That's gorgeous.
I love it. I've had this for a long time. I would love to have a whole kit in this, but you.
What year is that, Chris? That drum?
1994.
And what kind of shell is it?
I believe it's a maple.
Nice.
Really? Because when I was listening to it, I mean, maple is. I'm a big Mapex guy, and I use. I've got a.
Oh, cool! You're a drummer.
I am a drummer. Yes. And anyway, two Mapex that I have are birch with a little bit of maple with a little bit of birch in the middle. That sounds like a metal or like a polymer type substrate. It's brighter than what I'm used to for a maple snare. So just geeking out for a second.
Part of it.
Sean, are you cruising to have Chris on the Rimshot show?
Chris can come on Rimshots anytime you want.
Cool. So I have a question for you then. What kind of strainer are you using on the bottom side of your snare there?
I'm using it. Actually, it's made by I'm Mapex through and through, except the heads.
Okay. I'm using a 42 strand strainer on the bottom.
Yep.
So, and the reason that I use that, I started using it a long time ago. I realized that it did two things. It made the bottom just a hair brighter, but it also tightened it up because it almost muted the head a little bit. And so it gave me a little bit more control.
Well, I was going to say, I had one of those I had a DW metal snare, and I had one of those, and I found it choked the bottom head almost right off, and I went to a smaller strainer. But that's interesting because I've always had an affinity for the 42 strand. They're very cool.
I put a 42 strand on my studio snare, and we mic it from the top with an SM57, a vintage SM57, and I don't even have to mic it from the bottom. It is so bright that you get that really nice solid thud from the top skin.
Yep.
But you hear all the snare movement
So the
in the
first thing,
microphone.
if I was to ever go to your studio, the first thing I would tell you for your own good is to take that
Yeah.
57 off. I'm a 57 killer.
Oh, I don't have a 57 on the snare.
Pardon me?
What's that?
I don't have a 57 on the snare.
Right.
Yeah, no,
I use a 57 on the snare because I really like how you can pick up the snap of the snare nice with them.
Yeah, so I would basically I have a waiver that I carry everywhere I go, and I say if you're going to make me pay that or play that 57, please sign this because I'm not paying for it when I break it.
I never use a 57. I love 57s. It is one of my favorite mics.
Right.
But I don't use it for the snare drum. So
Well, here's an interesting thing. When I mic the 57, unless you're going to hit the rim of your snare, you will never hit the 57.
Right.
That's how far back I mic it. And I actually played around with the attenuation to get it just so it hits that sweet spot. Now you also got to remember that snare is also being picked up by 2 overhead microphones too.
So I just use this happens to be made by Apex.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think these work great. They are a little brighter than a Sennheiser.
Yep.
But I think they work great. And I like this because it's out of my way and it will take a hit.
You know what? The funny thing about it, I had one of those on my snare and the drummer killed it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's why I went to the 57. And the thing with the 57 is I could get better attenuation out of the 57 and pull it back. And now with it pulled back to the edge of the snare, it picks up the top skin so nicely. And it also picks up that bottom slap off the springs, right?
Yeah, I use a condenser underneath the snare to pick that up. But there's another technique that you can use as well. So if you take a 57 and the actual windscreen, the AW2S or something.
Yep.
That you put on there. There's a technique, and you put it on the blowhole as well. So you mic the drum with 3 mics, and in that case, for the snare sound that you hear on A Girl Like You, there are 3 mics on the snare, and obviously the one below is reverse phase, and I think the blowhole one is reverse phase as well.
Right.
But it has a lot of compression on it, and so what that does when you crack the snare. It gives this little like a little extra attack, and it just must be air,
right?
But it gives this attack and it focuses it into that mic. So
not to get too geeky because I'm not that guy, gentlemen.
That's okay.
But when I play live, one of the clubs I play, they have the SE drum mics, which are very durable. I had to Google it because I wanted to make sure I had it right, but they put a Beta 91 inside the kick drum, and then they go a Beta 52 on the outside of the kick drum.
Mm-hmm.
Works great in the studio. To your point there, Chris, sort of a configuration such as that, and then typically it's 3 on the kick, so it's the Beta 91, a 52, and some type sort of trigger. When I'm in the studio,
Don's a drummer too, and he says they mic the top and bottom of his snare.
Yeah, I don't always. It just depends. It depends on the snare, and it depends on what you're trying to do. Depends on the song.
Yeah, and it also depends on what you're trying to capture in the recording. What we're after here is if you came into the studio and you sat on the couch, which is just pretty much at the sweet spot of the room here in my live room. If you sat on the couch and listened to the band, you would hear the best mix you would hear in any intimate, really good club, right? So we use a room mix, and then everything gets referenced off the room mix. So when we go for a mix, we record everything live off the floor, our band. And so we're going for that room sound. What would it sound like if you walked into a small club and listened to this band live? When you hear our recordings, you're going to hear that. We just finished our 6th track for our album. and every single track is live off the floor. No dubs, no overdubs. We've worked back and forth tirelessly over 2 years to get all of our levels set so that we don't even really have to tweak anything once it's recorded.
Some of my best or live recordings that I've done of the bands that I've been in, I like those because there's so much bleed from all the other mics.
Yeah, and the energy, you can't get that live energy. It's harder to get that live energy doing a multi-track recording.
It is. I've got a buddy, and he's using those Earthworks mics. I've never used them, but I've heard really good things about them. I have done stuff where I've just used a single overhead, a condenser, a large diaphragm condenser over the top of the kit for things.
Who was the producer for the Beatles in their early years? Do you remember?
George Martin.
Yeah.
George. So when they mic'd Ringo's drums, they used 3 microphones.
Mm-hmm.
3.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's the same as some of those Zeppelin recordings. I mean, like, on one hand, I go, geez, it'd be great to hear Bonham totally mic'd up the way they do it now. But on the other hand, some of the magic is some of the stuff that he's hitting really hard to, he's probably gone back and listened to something and go, that ghost note isn't there. And he's cranking it. And that's part of the magic of what, makes him made him so great. Right. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm the worst sound check drummer in the world because I get impatient, but I love sounds, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I'm one drum away from having a full-blown Bonham kit. Although it's got a few little extras, but I'm looking for an 18-inch floor tom that is badge matched to my Pearl ELX kit. I got a Pearl ELX studio kit here, and it is one of the warmest kits you'll ever hear. I actually put Evans skins on it. It sounds so good with Evans skins on it. And on the toms, I just went to single plies.
I think Pearl in general is a warmer sounding kit, and their kick drums are usually really tight sounding.
Oh, it's big, man. I told you, I've tried several different techniques of miking the kick drum, and this large diaphragm Apex microphone that I use, when that kick is when I've got it just set right in the and it's a tune port that's on it, right? And I mic the tune port, but there's air that can pass around the microphone, so it's not. So you're getting the air movement, but you're also getting that thump off that back skin, and man, it's big.
Sometimes when you're out live, it's difficult placing that mic, especially with a front head and a hole, because some of the holes aren't, like on the Evans, they're not quite big enough. And a lot of times, like on our drummer's kit, sometimes we just toss the mic in because we can't get enough of the actual definition out of the drum, because that hole is just flooding that mic.
It's funny when we used to play live. I used to use an Audio Technica omnidirectional microphone in the kick drum for our drummer.
Wow!
And it worked really good. It was loud, and it didn't, and it didn't sound like a broken skin.
Are
it was
you talking
nice.
Like the one with the little tiny tip on it?
No, it's the one with the big cardioid tip on it.
Huh.
It's an omnidirectional, so it's actually a vocal mic.
Oh, Apex makes a condenser with interchangeable heads, and one of those is an Omni.
Right. Well, this was an Audio Technica, and it's I would say it's probably closest in the pattern to an SM58, maybe.
Oh, sure.
Back to your point, Chris. There, live, I typically I just have a really thin piece of foam that hits both heads, and I just lay the Beta 52 right in the middle of the foam. Yeah, and it works. And I mean, that's such a great mic anyway, right?
Oh,
there are so many really good ones out there, right?
That really is a great mic. It's the EQ curve of that mic is easy to work with. I sadly don't own one. My first kick drum mic was a D112. And although I liked it, it was just a royal pain in the ass to try
What's
to
the kick?
put
What's the
into a
kick
kick
sound
drum.
like there? What's it sound like?
I don't even know. Let me. I got to go back to this and shut it off. I guess. I wish my tablet would quit.
You run that off your tablet?
I'm running the mixer off my tablet. Yeah.
That's cool.
So here, I'll hit it for you. I'm not going to tell you that this is a great sound. This is what you're hearing is what I use to put into my ears for me to rehearse with or
Right.
track with. So, a finished thing isn't probably going to sound like this
Sure.
necessarily.
Sounds great to me, man.
Yeah, sounds good. Oh yeah. All right.
It sounds it's got a real nice mid toppy part without, it's because for me when I use IEMs and I like a lot of bottom, but I also like that mid and a little bit of top just for the crispness.
Right.
And so Kris, you would have starting out as a drummer probably now is that you have a double kick there you're playing?
Mm-hmm.
And now you would have started out on a single kick though.
I did. So I started off with a Rogers kit, a Londoner 5, a 5-piece kit. It was black, and I love that thing. I had the Dynasonic snare, and then I added on to the kit. I remember after getting my first paycheck from playing in a band, $30, and I was working for my dad, and I was mowing lawns and stuff, and so I just would save money and buy pieces of kit. So I bought a second bass drum and a small tom, a 10-inch tom.
Sydney Carr is watching you.
That's my daughter. Yeah.
She says, "That's my dad."
Yeah.
Tell her she gets that $20 there after. That's my dad, the rock star.
That's right. She's
My
my
dad,
she's
the
my
rock star.
bestie. She's my bestie.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So anyway, I got a couple pieces, and then eventually when I was 17, I started playing clubs at 14. And then I was, that was just taking fill-in gigs and whatever I could get. Well, by the time I was 16, I was playing every weekend in a band. And I was in a fairly steady band too. And so I started saving money for a new kit. I wanted this Rogers 10-piece, and it had 5 concert toms, double stacked in the front, and then 2 big floor toms, a 16 and an 18. And it was 22-inch by 14 kicks because nobody was making any real deep kicks at that point, other than maybe Ziccos and North, and there was one other company, and so I worked so hard and I saved every penny and I bought that kit. And
so am I seeing 6 or 7 pieces there?
This is a 7-piece.
Okay. I thought there was another tom over. So give us the size of all the drums from left to right.
So we've got an 8, a 10, 12, 14 suspended floor, 16 suspended.
Oh, nice.
And then for cymbals, I've got a couple different hi-hats. I have my original Zildjian hi-hats, Avitas Zildjian. They're 14s. Right. These are 13s. This is a Sabian. What the heck are they? This is the AAX. And the reason I can't see it is because I play my hi-hats upside down.
Okay.
That's smart business.
I can't stand them the other direction. They're just too sloppy, for smart my style of playing. I like it very tight. Then I'm using, I've got a pasty 18-inch China here. This is a Sabian AAX Delta Ride. Or Memphis Ride.
So with those, when you buy all those, you buy those for what you're looking for off them, right?
Yeah, I'm really particular about it. I kind of like a smoother sound. So this is a medium thin crash. This is a 16. This is an 18 medium crash. And then this is an AA Sabian. And this is an El Sabor Salsa Splash. So it's
Okay.
a 13-inch splash. But
That's a big splash.
I don't use it as a splash. What's different about the El Sabor cymbals is that the leading edge is turned up. And
Okay,
so
I see that. It looks curved slightly.
when you hit this,
So it's another crash, essentially.
right, and I like it because it doesn't take up very much room. So
Right.
I have like one of those Thai Go kits with the little 18-inch kick drum.
Right.
And boy, I'll tell you what, that is really handy.
Well, I think right in front of that 10, you need a Zildjian bell.
I had one, but I didn't like the sound of it. I think it was because I had the small one.
The one I got for the studio here is a 6-inch.
That's what I had, but it was too high pitched, and it didn't seem to fit anything that I was doing. It sounded more like one of those bells on a hotel counter, you know.
Well, this is what we were going for in this because we play a lot of prog rock, right?
Right. Right.
So it really does fit in, and it's really cool because it is so intense when it first hit. And it has a different sound no matter where you hit it.
Oh, really?
Bell, right?
So it's really loud. Then you're saying?
But it's like I said, depending where you hit it on the bell, you get a completely different sound off it.
I must have had a bad one because I just could not get that thing to go. It was so quiet compared to everything else.
This one sounds like the bell that goes off when two boxers are going at it.
No, mine didn't sound anything like that. It was horrible.
They're finicky. I'm going to tell you, gentlemen, I'm going to try to get to the Sabian plant this weekend because it's in a neck of the woods where I'm going to be playing.
Yeah.
However, I get a bell story for you, and I'll do it really quickly. I went into the local music store because I was looking for one of those ice bells, and I saw one the week before, and I went in, and they had sold the one that I was looking at, but they're on the set of drums. There was a complete set of cymbals with the ice bell, and I was pissed off. I'm like, no, don't want to, forget it. Anyway, as I'm leaving, my drum guy's like, if you know anybody that wants a deal on a good set of cymbals, let me know. And I'm like, what's a good set? He goes, well, they were basically $1,600 and $600. I'm like, me?
So
I got pretty much.
Let me think about it a little bit.
Well, and here's the thing, Chris. $600 to you would be about, I don't know, $125. It'll be a real deal if you did the conversion. But I got a 6-inch splash, an 8-inch splash. I got the ice bell, which was a 8-inch. I got a 14 set of hi-hats. I got a 20-inch ride. I get a 16 crash. I get an 18 crash. I get a 20-inch ride. Everything for $600. And
that was
vinyl.
Zildjian set?
No, it was vinyl.
Oh, it was vinyl. Yeah. You know, they've really come into their own. I have not used any of their products, but I see a lot more guys using that stuff.
My only complaint is I do inverted splashes on my crash cymbals.
Okay.
And the 8-inch, when I hit it, every so often will flop inside and out. And that's probably because I'm hitting it too hard and I'm a friggin' hacker, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm a rock guy, right? So, but and the bell on the ride, I had my mother for Christmas when I was 13 got me a Zildjian rock ride that's got a bell that's huge. 6 inches. Yeah. And just amazing. And I find the bell on the vinyl ride's not as big, but other than that, nice set of cymbals.
Yeah, I got a massive, big old Zildjian ride that I got with this kit. It's amazing. This kit, I lucked out. A buddy of mine he gave up drumming, and he bought this beautiful, a Pearl ELX kit. It was originally a 5-piece. It's now a 6-piece. I got a 10-inch tom for it. I ended up of all places I had to shop for, I found the tom and matching badge and everything. Had to get it in the UK. The only place I could find it. Only
Oh,
place I
wow.
could find one. Crazy. Anyway, we're coming up to 8 minutes to the top of the hour, and we're going to have you back on the show. That's evident because, we're barely just scratching the surface in what has been a lengthy career for you in the music industry. Have you published any of your music?
Sadly, no.
We're going to remedy that.
That I need to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've always been working on other people's stuff, and
Right.
the minute that you build a studio and anybody finds out, you're dealing with that. So
Have I got a deal for you?
This is the part where I go like this, right? It's like,
Yeah.
you remember that commercial, the slap shop? Nobody
What?
can beat Ken when he goes into the slap. Remember the guy that used to sell the slap chop on the infomercials?
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Ken has him beat 1,000 times. He is the guy.
He's the
It's
man.
amazing. But I will tell you, he does good work.
Listen, you can pay me now or you can pay me later. I'm like the Fram oil commercial. You remember the Fram oil commercial? You don't change your oil filter regularly, your engine's going to be dead.
Oh God.
Anyway, yeah. So you've got some really great music out there. You've done some awesome production in your time as well. You've got a full-fledged recording studio there.
I just wanted to show you that. This is
That's pretty.
Yeah, this is a probably 28 or 30 Ludwig.
Nice.
Streaked opal. If you're a drummer, the most important thing is really the snares.
Yep.
It's just everything.
Sean, do you want me to hand you a napkin there?
No. I've got.
I'm sure you've seen
It's
a couple.
precisely why I have about 11 of them, because every time that I go to, and sadly I've got some that I've used in the music store that don't get used because I love the sound. It's just I just haven't found the format for them. But a snare and a ride cymbal to me are the two things.
Well, up in Canada, there, forgive me if I pronounce it wrong. Ayotte drums.
Ayotte.
So
Ty, the guy, he built some custom snares for Ty, and this is one of them.
Oh, that's beautiful. Look at that.
So Ray used to work at a music store in Vancouver that a friend of mine used to work at.
That's all wooden, right?
Yeah, this is maple. His signature is right here.
So Ray Ayotte sold the company and didn't like what they were doing with it, so started Ty. I'm gonna give you another little tidbit because you whipped out that Ludwig snare drum. Bill Ludwig III has a company called let me think now, WL3. So he started the third generation of Ludwig. And I had the opportunity to talk to him a couple of times. Wonderful man. He's still we're trying to get a clinic when you come out for Rock the Hub, Ken. We're trying to get a clinic out here for him. He builds some of the best snare drums that very few people have ever heard yet. If you get a chance to check them out.
What's his name?
So it's William Ludwig the third, and I think the company is WL3 is the name of the drum company.
Yeah. Well, I have the matching kick drum over here.
Nice.
And that thing is, it isn't all that pretty, but yet it is. It's
very cool.
Well, I often find some of the best sounding drums kind of ugly ducklings sometimes.
They really are. Sometimes you get a deal too. You'll find if you're willing to go to some of the stores that are like what I term as thrift stores, like band instrument stores. This one here. This is a Premier. Okay, but I'm reasonably certain that this was actually a Tom. And
why not?
So, but it, it's missing some hardware. I've got a Rogers throw off on here. But when I was on the road, I used this snare probably more than anything. And the bad thing was I constantly was breaking the lugs, and I would snap these because they're just, they can't handle it.
Yep.
You can't tune it too tight. But I really like the snare for those bigger, looser kind of snare sounds.
I got to show you guys something here. Check this out. This is
Is that Alex Van Halen's old drum kit?
That's a buddy of mine that built this kit.
Okay.
And let me just see if I can make it a little bit bigger so you can actually see this.
I built one like that myself. I had a buddy. I bought like two.
See that a little bit better? There it is, right there.
Wow. Yeah.
Those kick drums are 36 inches long exactly.
Yeah. I built one like that. I took two kick drums and I glued them together and then recovered them. We recovered them in a buddy's basement, and we were using this adhesive, and we didn't have the basement windows open quite enough.
Oh no, I know where this is going.
Anyway, we walked out with a big smile, but it looked cool, and I made a couple of those and was out on the road with that. It looked neat, everybody wanted to be Alex Van Halen,
Everybody wanted that big, powerful, big kit.
Oh yeah. I wanted that snap that like Metallica was getting.
Right.
So I would go buy chunks of aluminum and I would package tape that to the kick drum head and then use a plastic beater so that it would click.
Okay.
So we could get it to really come out like that.
Wow.
Because our PA technology just really at that time just couldn't handle it.
One of the most interesting things I ever read was Modern Drummer article of Stuart Copeland, probably around 1990. And at first I was ticked off because he was like, the rock guys always think you tune everything low and you get the big boom. Tune it high. And I was like, no, Stuart, you're making fun of me. And then I did it. It's like the crack you get off of a tom when it's tuned high as opposed to rumble.
Oh yeah, it makes a huge difference. Yeah. Well, it's occasionally you'll have another drummer that is frustrated with the sound of his kit. They'll ask you, how do you tune this? And probably the answer that I give more than anything, and maybe you do too, I just tell them your drum has a pitch, and it will tell you where it wants to be tuned if you just listen careful. And you might think that you need to have it low, but maybe really it needs to be up there.
Definitely. Well, listen, we're at the top of the hour, guys. I wanted to kind of invite you to come back, Kris, because we barely got into.
Oh yeah, we just talked about drums. We shouldn't. We were talking about it. We shouldn't have me sit back there. So.
Well, that was your first instrument of passion. So this is a great way to introduce you because drums were your first passion, and then you learned other instruments. You're a singer. You're a front man. You've done a lot of live production as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're the guy we've always loved, Kris. Like somebody can barely master their own instrument, and you play 5 or 10.
I won't tell you that I'm the master of any of my instruments.
Proficient though.
Enough. Yeah. I mean, I know what I like to hear.
Right.
So I kind of focus on that.
Okay, so that's you playing the harp though on East Side Window with Ober's band, right?
I'm playing on that track. I'm playing harmonica. I'm playing the keyboard parts. I'm playing the dobro, and I'm one of the backup singers. So
you're really making that harmonica sound great, man. In that recording.
Well, and here's my point quickly. Just did in the process of doing a song for one of Indie Tune's soon to be released artists that I can't name right now. However,
okay.
It was her singing, and it was myself and a guy that I've known for years. And I laid the drum track down. He did the bass, the guitar, the keyboards, and it was amazing to watch because there was three of us there. He did the lion's share of the work. I felt like pretty much my thing was one take, and he was there for 3 hours doing all these parts. It was impressive.
Yeah, and you now, I want to just quickly talk about production, and we're going to get into this next time we have you on the show. You did produce Jeremy Ober's album "Brutal Republic," "Full White Moon," right? You did that album, right?
We co-produced it together, but yeah, as far as like the mixing, I handled most all of that.
Yeah. So if you got anybody wants a treat to listen to, some really quality recordings, I'm actually going to share this tab with you guys. So just bear with me a second here.
I want to make sure that I think there is one song that was not recorded here.
Right.
I can't think of the name, but it was recorded at Junior's Motel.
Right. And and of course, Junior's Motel is another famous recording studio in the area, right?
Big time. Yeah. I mean, they're actually famous. I just have this room. So
the majority of these tracks are co-produced by Kris. If you want to listen to some really cool stuff he's produced for other people, now he's only doing his own stuff, and we're hoping that we're going to be the recipients of that library of music and be able to get it out there for people to enjoy in future generations. That's our goal at Indie Tunes Records. That's what we do, but also supporting artists like Kris who make their music. And this is a guy who makes his living full time at music, raised a family too.
It's what you do.
There you go. True. I mean, that is like in a sense kind of the American dream when you think about it in terms of living that life and knowing that we talked about knowing the feast and famines of life.
We're lucky in our prospective countries that we can do that. I don't have to tell you there are countries where there are musicians that there's no hope of them being able to do this. Not a chance.
Yeah, they don't enjoy that freedom, and I mean, some of them for some of them, we've tried to help those musicians out. We've got a couple of bands that we support on the label that are from Rio de Janeiro. So a country hard hit by a lot of economic woes and corruption and a whole bunch of other stuff, and so musicians there's some really talented musicians there who really want to try and get their music out in front of the world.
Oh, and deservingly so. I think there's a plethora of really great music out there that nobody's heard.
And nobody's heard some of Kris Karr's music. If they've never gone to a live show, they probably never heard of it.
Yeah, that's really it. We do play a number of my songs there. We do play a Girl Like You. And then there's some other stuff that you haven't heard that we play. We have a song called Walk On Over to Our House or My House, and that's a very popular song for us right now. So
right, and that is performing as the Kris Karr Band, right?
Yes, yeah.
And then you still perform at the Cosmic Brownies as well?
Yeah, in fact, we have a gig coming up here on the 1st of April, and we're actually here in town, here in Fort Dodge.
Well, Kris, you're not going to tell us the story now because we want people to come back and hear you the next time you're on the show. Yeah. And the next time you're on the show, we're going to get you to share the story of how the Cosmic Brownies came to be.
It's short, but yeah, we can do that. It's much shorter than this, but yeah.
Interesting, and again, you are really sort of you epitomize what we're really trying to promote here in terms of showing artists that you can make a living at music. Sean's another example of that. Sean makes his living full time off music as well. So it is possible. Sean is a hustler.
Yeah,
and you probably had to learn to be a hustler as well in your line of the work.
You do have to be, you have to be pretty tenacious to be able to keep going.
And I mean a hustler in the sense that you're giving whoever is hiring you a great product.
You try because it's your reputation online.
And Sean has the same work ethic as you. That's one of the reasons that I think him and I get along so well, is that, you guys have that work ethic of, you get out of this what you put into it.
Oh, definitely.
And always being professional about it, and showing people that that you care about what you do.
You have to care, because if you don't, it'll show, and then you won't be working.
That's the
Definitely.
truth, right? I mean, and this is no, I was playing a gig one time, and there was a guy sitting there, and he said, "You guys look like a band." He goes, "I oftentimes can't tell the difference between the guy and the guy playing the music, right?" And his point was that we were doing a little bit of extra for the audience here. What do you have there, Chris?
I just have my tablet. I want to turn this front mic on so you can hear me better. But
Don was saying, he said that you sound like a friend of ours, LB. L is it lives down near the Windsor, Ontario area, which is like very close to just across the border from Detroit, Michigan. And Al is a producer, but he's also like you. He's taught himself how to play many instruments. Plays keyboards, piano. He plays guitar, bass, I believe, as well. I don't know what else other instruments he plays, but he's a multi-instrumentalist. But he does excellent production. He produces for different artists, but the Creatures of Condition, who are on our label. Again, you want to hear some really, really good recorded stuff. There's so many talented people out there that we really, really want to bring, all these people to the forefront and show you that what they do every day is not just for themselves. It's about polishing and giving you a really great product at the end of the day. And so, it's well worth your money spent to support artists like yourselves, because you're not just there to show up.
No, most people don't really realize how many hours you actually put in to do this. I mean, whether it be your rehearsal time of your own, just your instrument, or whether you're learning a song, or whether you're in the recording process or the mixing process. There's just so much that goes into it. I mean, you will never make the money back in the hours that you put in. Not really. Because you're in a way, you're kind of a slave to your own job.
Right.
And, but it's worth doing it. When you see, say, for instance, a song that you've written, I see it all the time. Luckily, I see when they're moved by it. I always watch to see, especially if it's a song that's danceable. I'm always looking for people moving their feet, or, women starting to move. That tells me everything I need to know right there. And then if they come up and ask about it, it's just really awesome. Especially if they didn't, a lot of times I don't announce my songs. We just play them.
Right.
And somebody will come up and say, "Well, who wrote that? That's a great song." I did.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we're going to get your music out in the digital form, and maybe down the road you might do something that some of our other artists are doing. They're pressing vinyl now, and be surprised that at the cost of limited vinyl pricing, it's coming down. We're starting to see the price of vinyl come down a little bit as we're seeing some more pressing plants going online. So the competition, more competition in the place makes everybody sharpen their pencil, and you can get some good deals.
I love the sound of vinyl. I have one friend who records a lot, and he's released on vinyl, and that would be cool if I could. I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
thinking I'm thinking that
No,
I don't know. Did Jeremy ever produce that album on vinyl?
no, not that I know of.
That's something maybe we should talk about because as you know, the process for mixing and mastering for vinyl is so different.
Yeah, I just jammed with him last night. Him and a few other musicians out at a local bar. It was a good time.
You got some really good sound on going in the studio. You know, you should get him to come over one time to your studio and have you both on together, and you could jam a couple of tunes for us.
Yeah, we can do that. I don't think he'd have a problem with that at all.
No, Jeremy.
I don't get to play together very often because we both just have our separate things that we do.
Just feed him give him some bourbon. Give him some bourbon.
You got it in your hand. Lift it up.
What do you got there? What do you got there, bud?
I don't know if you recognize the name Ken Tobias.
I don't, but
Ken Tobias, go look him up.
You showed me that before.
Ken Tobias is from St. John, New Brunswick, which is about 5 hours from where I am.
Okay.
I had no idea this man has written more or been associated with more number one hits that you and I would both know that have made Billboard.
Really?
And had no idea. And wonderful man. He's back here. Look him up. I found that in the.
Give us a couple of those Billboard tunes.
I don't know. I can't remember any of them right now. But I'm telling you, if you go Google. But I'm telling you right now, the guy's a legend, and he's from Canada. Well,
I gotta do this. I don't know who
Ken
this
Tobias,
is.
and there's another gentleman. I don't have a record here right now, but he grew up.
Okay, I got it here.
You got it?
Kenneth Wayne Paul Tobias, a Canadian singer songwriter. He's noted for the penning of the 1971. Where is it? Oh, where'd it go? It was there. Oh God, a whole bunch of stuff here. There's a ton of stuff. This guy's got a great.
I had him on Barstools, and he's an amazing interview when he sits there talking about hanging out with Denny Doherty, who basically grew up 15 minutes from where I'm sitting right now, from the Mamas and the Papas of Janis Joplin, and incredible.
I don't
stuff.
recognize these titles, but I'm gonna have to take a listen to them apparently.
Well, and I didn't either, but I'm sitting there going, okay, yeah, I knew that was a hit. I mean, he played with the Wrecking Crew that did all the stuff for the Beach Boys, and if you get to know me, Chris, I'm starting to collect vinyl now, so that was a good find.
Yeah, for sure. I ended up with a buddy's stereo, or his father's stereo, and then I had a turntable, and I put it over at my store, and every once in a while I'll find something and put it on, and it's just cool to listen to a record. I mean, we don't get to do that. Everybody's listening to their music on a little tiny phone. It's so funny because I think about it. I think we've had this discussion before, is that we've just gone so far backwards. I remember being a little kid and listening to whatever I like to hear on a little 3-inch transistor. And now we're listening to that again on an iPhone,
Yeah.
And we could be listening to it on something really great.
So, now the audio systems on an iPhone are actually pretty good if you've got really good earbuds.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, you have to put in earbuds.
I
do that on the way home from a gig. Somebody turned me on to a band called the Iguanas out of New Orleans. And I just really, it's not music that I've ever heard before, and I just kind of dug it. And so my wife bought me a couple of their albums for my birthday, and that was cool.
Right.
Ken, I know you want to wrap. I just want to, if I could, but quickly. We do a little fun thing every time I talk to my friends in the States on Barstools, because it fascinates me. How much our friends in the States know about music up here. If I was to ask you, Chris, 3 Canadian artists that you'd be familiar with, it doesn't have to be favorites or whatever, could you give me 3?
Bryan Adams. Isn't Triumph from Canada?
Yep. Oh yes, big time.
I really liked them. I remember when they came out, and then just like all of a sudden they weren't around.
Yep.
You know, it was like Rush just kind of shoved them out of the way, which I was really disappointed by. Of course, Anne Murray is from up there, and there's numerous others. Neil Young is from Canada. I'm sure I can think of more, but those.
So not to put you on the spot, but you did something for me that I proved. I proved it again. Consistently, my friends from the south of the border always come up with Triumph.
Oh yeah.
Consistently. And the other one they come up with is a band called April Wine. I don't know if you've ever heard of them or not.
Oh God, yeah. I didn't realize they were from Canada though. Yeah, I was in a band called Public Disturbance, and Big City Girls. Is that the name of the tune? Big City Girls? And then
it is indeed. Yep.
Yeah, I love that song. I actually, we had that album, you know, we went out and bought it back then, and we just loved it. Oh, I Want to Rock. Yeah.
Go.
That's a great
So,
tune.
I tell you what,
I know everybody thinks about Just Between You and Me, but there was all these other tunes on there that were killer. That's like the Knack, you know, everybody thinks of, you know, Good Girls Don't, but there was a song on there, I think it was called Siamese Twins or The Monkey and Me, and that's like when they re-released that album, it wasn't on there, and I was so disappointed, and because it was politically incorrect, you know. But I thought it was a great song. I mean, the music was just phenomenal on it. But
well, it's like I feel like I'm sitting in the epicenter of Canadian music because Miles Goodwin, who was the lead singer who just retired, he played his last show 3 weeks ago. Grew up about 15 minutes from where I'm sitting. And he won't come on my podcast, but that's fine because I gave him prompts again. So thank you very much, Chris.
Right, no problem. Oh, that's sad. Yeah.
So here's an interesting thing. I gotta tell you. Have you heard of the Canadian rock band called Helix?
I believe so. Yeah.
And you heard the song "Rock You"?
You know what? I'm not sure I have. I remember that you brought that up. I think talking to Bob Minter from.
Probably. So they came out with an album in 1984 called "Walk in the Razor's Edge," and they were one of Canada's premier rock bands, and back in the day, and they came out with a tune called "Rock You," and it this year is going to top over 10 million streams.
What year was that?
1984.
84, I believe.
1984. And that's 10 million streams since it hit Spotify.
I know why I didn't hear it. I was stuck in a country band.
Well, some of those albums actually earned Helix some gold and platinum albums. So you know, they definitely did some really good things back in the day, and they're still playing a lot of live shows. They're going to be playing at Rock the Harbor out in Halifax this summer. 3 days, 11 bands, Chris. So bands like is Loverboy playing at this one?
No.
No, it's who's all at this one? I forget.
Is Loverboy
Helix for sure.
Canadian band?
Loverboy's Canadian as well. Yeah.
Vancouver. Honeymoon Suite is there.
Oh, yeah.
Tom Cochran.
I used to do what's the tune by Honeymoon?
Kim Mitchell. You ever heard of Kim Mitchell?
Yeah, I have heard of that.
You're probably thinking New Girl Now.
Yeah, we used to do that. I used to sing it. Yeah. Yep. The Babies, Midnight Rendezvous.
The Babies, yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, we got 11 bands over 3 days. It starts August 18th to 20th on the Halifax Harborfront. And day one, we've got Toronto, Prism, Gowan. And then on Saturday, Lee Aaron, Helix, and the Headpins. And then on Saturday, Kim Mitchell, Harlequin, Streetheart. And on Sunday, Honeymoon Suite and Tom Cochran. With Streetheart, sorry. There's 4 bands on the Sunday.
Tom Cochran.
Life is a Highway.
Life is a Highway.
Who was that? Bruce.
Redone by Rascal Flatts.
Bruce Coburn.
Yep.
Had a rocket launcher. God, what a great song.
No doubt. Listen,
that guitar work is just his guitar work is just phenomenal.
We are going to get you back on the show because you have this musical career that spans several decades. You're still going strong, still playing music, still recording, and we got to get your music out on digital. That's all I got to say here. That's it.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I'm sorry, I wasn't reading. I was too far away to read all the comments. So if anybody said hi, I'm so sorry. I missed all of that. But
I've been trying to say hi to people on here and put up some comments as they go forth. He says that Gowan also plays with sticks.
He does, absolutely.
And we had a guy on the show not too long ago who played guitar with sticks as well. Do you know who that was?
No.
Yeah, you know who it is.
Okay. Carrie.
Carrie Kierlich, yeah.
is the drummer, is that Zuckerman?
Todd Zuckerman.
God, he
Yes, sir.
kills. I watched a couple videos. I was wanting to learn a lick, and I watched a couple of his videos, and it was really, really helpful. I've been watching.
I had him on my podcast. He's an amazing dude. He is
Yeah.
very, very nice. You want to see something that's phenomenal? I say it to everybody. Sometime around 2012, they played Vegas with Don Felder played with them.
Oh yeah.
They do Blue Collar Man, and every time I watch it, the hair on my arm stands up. It's incredible.
Yeah. No, they were killer.
Be safe that Sean is going to be asking you to be on his show Rim Shots on. That's a YouTube show, isn't it?
Yes,
Oh,
I think
wow.
we'd have a good chat.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love that.
Sean is getting very close to 1,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel,
Oh wow.
and
That's hard to do.
You know what? YouTube is. I always joke about this, right? I've got over 300 interviews. I've interviewed everybody from local people here to Liberty DeVito from Billy Joel and Todd Zuckerman and guys like that. And you'll sit there and you think you do something meaningful, and you look at it and it gets 1,000 views. And then some dude finds a potato chip that looks like Richard Nixon, and he goes viral, and you can never figure out what's up.
well,
So
we've made it to 164 subscribers, and it's growing, which is it's slow growth.
The hardest one, I can tell you right now, the hardest one is 200.
Yep.
The next
Really?
hardest one is 1,000.
You look at Rick Beato's channel. Wow.
Oh God.
That's
Rick Beato, and there's a whole bunch of them out there that do really great guitar stuff.
Well, did you see? Extreme has their new album out, and I don't know if you've listened to that lead guitar part on there.
Yep.
Oh my God. Yeah. Wow.
It's it's one of those things where thankfully I've got somebody that always tells me to not focus on the numbers so much, because there is collateral money, monetization that can take place, but I'm close. But my analytics back end, besides that first gate, are just through the roof. It's just incredible.
Well, I think it goes in steps, and I know just from my Kris Karr music page on Facebook. So I started that thing out, and the reason that I like doing it there versus just my personal page is because those people actually want to be there, and I'm not shoving content down their throat. I don't ever want to do that. And so I really appreciate that they're paying attention. Sometimes I feel like I'm not doing enough, but I can only do so much. I've booked my own shows, I'm setting up everything. And then trying to pay attention to just normal everyday life. So,
well, here's an interesting thing. You remind me a little bit in some ways of another guy that I'm working with that is from the Oshawa, Ontario area, so up near Toronto. He's got a home studio like yours, and his name's George Millette. He's on the label now.
Oh yeah, and I listened to one of his, maybe a couple of his tunes, and I thought it was really great. Yeah, really good stuff.
Yeah, he produces really great music, and I think he's a collaborator as well. So that's when I'd like you to meet him. And I'm trying to get George to do a collaboration with Mary Spender. I don't know if you know who Mary is.
I don't think so.
Watch her on YouTube, and she does a cool version of a Dire Straits tune on there with a young gentleman, just the two guitars, and it is the most phenomenal. I think it's 2.8 million views now.
Oh, there's another gal out of Canada. She based herself down in Nashville. I think the song is "Hard on Me."
Okay.
Sure.
So hard on me. I'll have to send a link to you.
Yeah, I got to send you. I share some links with you guys. Another great guy you guys got to watch. He's freaking funny. Sometimes a little grating, but he's a killer guitar player. His name is Steve Terraberry, and he has 2.8 million followers on YouTube. And almost all of his videos go viral, and he does the weirdest videos. They're like really cool videos. They're well produced. He does like a video a week or something like that. And he has this one where it's called "Save the Lick." So he always inevitably shows a video of some guy screwing up a guitar lick, and then he does this thing called "I'm gonna save the lick," right? And he shows you how it should actually be played.
Right.
And he's this virtuoso, classically trained guitar player that has a really dark sense of humor. It's really funny.
The artist that I was thinking of is Kathleen Edwards.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kathleen Edwards is. I want to say she's originally from my neck of the woods, but I could be wrong.
Canada's got some really talented people all over, man.
I'll tell you what, she that one particular song, it's "Hard on Everyone" is what it's called. Just lyrically, it's just
there's a great country artist right there, Terry Clark. You ever heard of her?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lady that I'm working with on our label, let me just take a look here.
It's funny. I write country too, but I don't pay attention to any of it.
Right.
I don't know why.
Corrected.
Yeah.
She's from Ottawa.
There's a great country artist. Her name is Lisa Richard. She's from Sean's neck of the woods. She's on our label. She's down in Nashville right now, playing and singing her heart out. Down in Nashville, she's got an EP and an album out. She's another great person that you could probably collaborate with, Chris, because she's got a heart of gold, and she's got that really down home, back east sort of hospitality attitude.
Yeah.
I get the. I'm not even saying it. I get the collab for him, bud. You're just dancing all around it, and you're missing it. You're swinging straight.
Oh man. Okay, we're at an hour 30. We got to call it quits, guys. We got to get this.
I don't know.
This show.
Why don't we just kill this thing now? I mean,
you're used to doing 2-hour shows anyway, aren't you? And you play straight through without any breaks.
I do 3-hour shows straight through. I did a couple years ago. I did a 5-hour straight through. My band, we do a 3-hour straight through usually.
All original tunes?
No, we do covers too, but we don't ever try to do the covers necessarily like the artists. We kind of do our own version. I'm not afraid to take somebody's song and then just make it like how I want it to be. You know, like right. I have a version of "Long Haired Country Boy," the Charlie Daniels song.
Right.
And I just decided one day, because I was playing it on acoustic, I was like, well, how can I make this fatter sounding, you know? And I just decided, okay, well, we're going to drop this to, drop D, and we're going to make it like John Fogerty would do "Long Haired Country Boy."
Oh, cool.
And just make it this kind of swamp thing. And it turned out really good.
Right. We've been trying to get Fogerty on the show here.
Well, I think I heard they tried to get him here in Fort Dodge for their what we call celebration, but I don't think that happened. I think I heard Collective Soul, the Babies, and Pablo Cruz. I think
Right.
they're-
Here's what I found since I started my podcast, and I'm going on 3 years in April. A lot of these folks are very accessible. So a lot of them, as a matter of fact, I had Billy Sheehan on a month and a half ago.
Oh wow!
And he was fantastic, and he corresponded with me directly. The other fella, I want to make sure that I get this right, because when it happens, all my bass playing friends are like, "You can't get this guy. You can't get this guy." Where are we here? Give me what's this? Leland bass player plays with Phil
Leland
Collins.
Sklar.
Yes.
Oh yeah, he's on.
Yeah.
I watch
Yeah,
his
so
channel every so often. Yeah.
he came back. I sent him a text, and he came back and he said, "I'm on tour right now, but I'd love to." So yeah.
No, he runs a series of podcasts on YouTube, and right now he's been sharing the tunes that he's played on, and kind of what he did, and then he talks about playing it live and all of that, and then he'll talk briefly about the artist. The last one I just watched was Warren Zevon.
Oh yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. But
you might do
really
better.
cool. You'll have to let me know when that happens.
I'm following up with him right now as we speak.
Following up with who?
Very cool.
Leland Sklar.
Yeah, no, he's killer.
We've also got somebody coming up on the show that was he was like the e-marketer for Kiss, wasn't he?
Michael Brandvold.
When's he coming on the show, Sean?
You know what? We'll have to set that. I'm going to tell you something interesting though. So I had him on last week when we were on, just before I did my recording, and there was a tidbit that came out that they said Bob Kulick, who played some stuff on Kiss Destroyer, actually played on Kiss Alive, and it was this huge scoop. Michael was getting like, "You're the worst guy ever." Paul Stanley from Kiss actually called him to dispute that claim, and it's still going on. That they think Paul Stanley's kind of throwing up smoke. It's really starting to be a really interesting thing. I'm going to follow up with Michael tomorrow, and we'll get a set of date for him.
Yeah, so let's nail him down for a date on an upcoming show.
I think we did. Just one second.
I think he gave you a date back.
He did. Just give me 1 second.
I got to plug that in. And then Chris, we got to have you back on the show. We definitely have to get you back on here and discuss more of what you're doing in the way of music, and the fact that we want to get your music out there so people can enjoy it, because it's well produced.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So
April 26th.
April 26th. And what's his name again?
Michael Brandvold.
So he'll be coming on the show April 26th. And then April the 19th, we have a young lady from Fergus, Ontario, a solo artist from Fergus, Ontario, Madison Galloway. And Chris, you might like watching this show, because here's a young girl who is really working to make her career in music.
She's is she doing country then?
I would say more sort of blues. She's got a great. She plays guitar and sings. She does a show every Sunday on Facebook Live.
Oh! She's a real skinny gal.
Yeah, real tiny little girl. Yeah.
She's usually is wearing a hat.
Yeah, wears a floppy hat. Yeah.
Yeah. No, she's really good. I have watched her a couple times. I'm on Facebook on this Periscope and Friends or whatever. It's a music thing,
right.
The group that I belong to, and then she'll be on there. Abby Owens out of I think she's in Florida. And then there's a couple of others that are just really good on there.
Madison.
I hardly ever post, but these guys are on there all the time.
Yeah, so having you artists like yourself and Madison on the show are really, really helpful to other musicians that are out there to realize that they can make a living off music. It's not always an easy road. It's the road less traveled for some, because as you guys can attest to, there's a lot of hours you're never compensated for.
Oh yeah. Well, and all the gear that you have to buy. Think about.
What?
What gear?
Yeah, let's start with drums. I mean, yes, you can buy a cheap kit, and maybe get it done for a while, but eventually, if you're going to continue to do it, you're going to have to invest.
I think being a lead singer in the band was always the best gig because all you had to walk in with was your Beta 58 wireless.
Did
You
you?
know,
Most of them don't even do that now.
yeah,
I know.
yes and no. Yes and no. Okay, so if you're a vocalist, you're always going to have to deal with the possibility of a cold or a sore throat.
Yep.
I think the best gig is playing harmonica, which I've done.
Right.
When I was living up in Minneapolis, St. Paul, I took a job playing blues with a blues band, and I would carry my little classic 30 and my bag of harps and a microphone, and I'd walk into the club that had the sound system all ready to go, plop it down, get a beer, and just stand there while they played and waited to come in with my lead. you know, and then I was done, and I just stepped back, sip a beer, wait, come back up. It was all right.
That's a tough gig.
It was, but there was a free meal involved and a beer or two and a quick $100 for a couple hours work. It really wasn't bad.
Well, listen, we're going to talk about that and more things on a show coming up. It's a pleasure to have you guys on with me tonight. Kris, thanks for joining us. It's been great having you here. And so Kris Karr from Fort Dodge, Iowa, check him out. He's at kriskarr.com. You can check him out there as well. KRISKRR.
KARR.
KARR. Sorry.
Yep, that's okay.
And it's kind of cool because that's like a Hollywood name, Kris Karr.
Wasn't my doing. I think that was my mom that decided that. So.
Right on. Well, it works, man. It does work, and there we are.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
It's been awesome having you on here. And Sean, as always, Sean McKenna from the podcast Barstools and Bandtalk. And you're going to have this guy probably on Rim Shots. So check out Sean's YouTube channel. Give us a quick plug for the YouTube channel.
So it's Barstools and Bandtalk, Rim Shots with Sean. We're well over 300 interviews now. 3 years in April, and we've got some cool stuff coming up. We're that close to the first 1,000, which everything else lines up. It'll almost be like winning the lottery. I can't wait. So
I got notifications, so when you hit 999, I can hit the like button and put you over the 1,000.
There you go. Right,
that's my goal.
I'm looking for that potato chip that looks like Richard Nixon, but
Are you subscribed to Indie Tunes Records?
I should be if I'm not.
Here's another cool thing, another cool fact before we go tonight. I just purchased the domain IndieTuneRecords.com. We owned IndieTunes.com, and I decided that I should own IndieTunesRecords.com.
Nice.
So now I own both of those domains, and you can type in either one or any combination of the other, and Google will find your way to our website.
Well, and you know what? That's important stuff because I was able to secure Barstools and Bandtalk, which I didn't have stupidly. Because to be honestly, I thought this was going to be a little 4-week whatever, and then I was going to be back playing, and here we are.
Right.
Doing that, but yeah, that's
you started that in 2019 then, or in
2020.
And yeah, see that just propelled things. I thought that I didn't know that I'd be playing as much as that I would be.
Online did really well in 2020, and online is still.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys just froze up. I'm going to end the stream here, guys. Thanks for joining me tonight. You guys stay there. We're going to talk for a couple of minutes afterwards. And you folks, thank you for joining us this Wednesday evening, allowing us to come into your place and be part of your hump day. Have a great one, everybody, and a great rest of your week. We'll see you all soon. Next week on the Indie Show, I'm back here with our regular co-host, Tom Jokic from the podcast Famous Lost Words. Those are famous lost interviews from days gone by from anybody and everybody that's in the music industry, so you want to check those out as well. All right, I'm Kenny. These guys are not,